Hey there, SquirrelTribe Life folks. Welcome. I hope you guys are having a great day. And I want to talk to you real quick about the banks and specifically Wells Fargo. But first, we're going to take a look here at we're going to look at Daily Mail. Daily Mail here, because it says that U.S. banks shut a total of 36 branches in just 1 week. Asking the question, is yours affected? And this is a little bit of like a loaded question, but the short and sweet and simple answer is yes, your bank is affected. And odds are, quite possibly, more than likely, if it isn't already, will be in the future. Because we're also going to take a look at what Forbes has to say, and the Wells Fargo Senior EVP Arthur Williams on digital and AI in banking. Yeah, this really should come as no surprise as to, where we're progressing, or where we are inevitably being forced to progress and evolve to by way of the choices and decisions that are being made by the banks, the Fed, monetary policy, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, global changes to the economies of the world, changes to the world's reserve currency, the US dollar, the introduction and the conversion to BRICS. So we got a lot going on. We got a lot happening, but I think it's important that we talk about it and we discuss it so that, we can be better informed, more educated, and not caught off guard and blindsided. I do have a question I want to ask you guys at the end of this video, and I really would appreciate your honest answer and feedback. So we're going to get through this really quickly, and then I'll ask you that question, and I look forward to reading your responses. Whether you leave them down below in the comment section, you send me a DM on Instagram, shoot me an email, or message me on Patreon as a direct message as a member on Patreon. But first, let's talk about these banks. So 36 branches in just 1 week, okay? Yeah, so TD Bank's 20 bank closures was reported to the Office of Comptroller of the Currency. 2 were in South Carolina, but the remainder were in the Northeast, scattered across Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. Wells Fargo, which reported 8 closures, filed to close branches in California, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Nevada. And let's see here, TD Bank files to shut 20 branches along the East Coast. They got a little map here showing, the branches that are going to be closing. And, it's pretty much status quo. They go through, I'll link this in the description if you guys want to check out this article, because it provides the locations, the exact addresses of these locations. Now, ironically, with this announcement, or these announcements, it says here that Chase has already filed to open more than 50 branches this year alone, which says here that it's bucking a national trend. So maybe Chase has a different objective or possible prediction or hope for the future. Be that as it may, it says that the last year that the U.S. saw an increase in banks being opened and built, basically, was in 2011. And there were more than 85,000 branches throughout the United States. This is according to the data from the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And since then, the number has dropped steadily to about 70,000. So since 2011, we've seen a continuous decline in open banks. While 2024, Chase is bucking the trend, the national trend, and planning to open 50 locations, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't necessarily really go with what I suspect is going to happen, but I do think that there may be a caveat to Chase opening these branches, and I'll tell you guys about that in just a second. It says here that closures can lead to significant savings, obviously for the banks, and savings mean more profit. The average freestanding branch costs $2.6 million a year to run, and in 2023, more than 1,500 bank branches were shut for good, with California and the Midwest worst hit. One wrote how PNC shut down our local branch, which was 3 miles away, and now I have to go to an adjoining city or across the river to Ohio to make deposits or for other banking needs. Yes, there will be inconveniences to account holders and bank customers. Another says that it's totally inconvenient, and as a senior citizen, the extra mileage is wasting gas. Yep. Another says that this is all very distressing to both my husband and me. We've already had several closures of our banks and have to drive further and further to find our banks. What happens when we can no longer drive? Which is a really good question. They mention here how a banking desert is a neighborhood which has no bank branches in it or within 10 miles of its center. And just a handful of states, including Arkansas, Mississippi, Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Wyoming, experience a net gain of branches. West Virginia was the only state that did not lose a single bank branch throughout the entire year. The majority of Americans are concerned about widespread bank branch closures, which are hitting lower income households the hardest. So yeah, look, what's crazy is, this article, I'm going to tell you guys right now, this article is purely a warning and notification of bank branch closures and a small announcement of a few bank branches opening, which pale in comparison to how many are closing. And if they're primarily Chase Bank and you don't have Chase Bank, then you probably won't really care. I don't know if this will, create some form of incentive for people to switch to Chase Bank, but it does include a few other openings: Bank of America, Huntington, MidFirst, and Community FSB. But this article, again, it's really just like a heads up. The banks are closing. These are the ones that are closing. And I really kind of feel shortchanged by reading it or skimming through it for the fact that they don't really go into the reason why. Now, I can't necessarily say specifically why these bank branches, these 36 branches, are closing, but we can discuss and talk about the future of banking and therefore the elimination and the reduced want and or need of physical bank branch locations as we read through Forbes. So the announcement of the 36 bank branch closures, this was published yesterday. And just want to give you guys a little bit of a time frame here so you can understand how these two tie together, how closely related they are. And this article from Forbes is from Monday. It's hump day, my dudes, but April 22nd, Forbes released this article. And Arthur Williams III is the Senior Executive Vice President and Head of Strategy, Digital Innovation, and Enterprise Payments at Wells Fargo, a multinational financial services company that earns in excess of $150 billion annually. In that role, he leads corporate strategic planning, defines and manages digital platforms and capabilities, and manages innovation priorities and company-wide transformation efforts. He also works closely with the company's technology group and business lines to deliver digital solutions and innovation to customers that are integrated, intuitive, and seamless across channels. So that gives you a little bit of a background on Arthur Williams III. And that is important because you need to understand his role and therefore his drive and his motivation. Arthur Williams III, the mobile app experience has been an evolution since the last time we spoke, and we're now up to about 30 million mobile users, and we've grown about 1.6 million mobile users over the last year. The foundation was getting to the core of the things people need to do in the mobile app. And it's about payments, balance, visibility, managing your relationship with us, and then candidly starting to explore more products. It's actually pretty funny how he said that, because candidly starting to explore more products, okay? And if I have a need, whether it's borrowing or investing, how do we link that all together? Get that foundation together, he asks. And we've pivoted from having the mobile app being a thing in of itself to embedding digital in all of our channels. One way we've done that is Fargo. And Fargo is our AI-powered digital assistant that we developed with Google, and Fargo is now in English and Spanish. It's actually interesting because a lot of the search features I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of the search features that you would find at the top banner of any website or Facebook or an app or almost anything that has a search feature now mentions and references AI. Okay. It's not even necessarily so much from trying to source the information through SEO and metadata and keywords and tags to provide you with results from your search, but really more so trying to answer the question that you have within this search. And I've even noticed it now on I think it's on my phone, maybe it's on my computer too. And when I search, you can tell it takes a little bit of time because the text isn't there. There's just like these colorful lines as it's trying to process this through AI. And it provides more so answers and ideas than links, if that makes sense. So AI is integrated, and AI is going to be further integrated. And again, this one here, I'll include this one in the link down below in the description for you guys as well to check it out. But basically what it boils down to is Wells Fargo has clearly explained, and I'm sure many other banks are working on it and probably have put out, stories and pieces on it as well. But at the end of the day, they're trying to figure out how can we take every product and every service that we would offer in a bank branch and make it seamlessly available in an app that people can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 366 days a year on an app, on their smartphone, on their laptop, desktop, tablet, and maybe even one day on your Apple Watch. That's what they want to do. Put your Apple Vision Pros on and you're in the bank. That's what they want to do, because this allows the bank to increase its reach, okay, and maximize its efficiency and ability to connect and engage with customers and conduct business, produce revenue, and ultimately profit. At $2.6 million a year to manage a brick and mortar bank location, they got a lot of work to do. They got, a huge nut to crack. If they can eliminate that, overhead cost and burden, and then multiply and magnify and exponentially increase their earnings ability, then this is going to allow these banks to be so much more profitable. With that being said, without a physical bank branch location, you don't need those employees. You don't need those physical human workers anymore. And therefore, switching over and offering so much of an intuitive, seamless process of AI-based apps means that you won't even need those people to manage the services that the apps are going to offer, because AI is going to do most of the heavy lifting. So is AI going to close all the banks? Is AI putting banks and bank employees and tellers and bank managers and loan officers out of business and security guards out of business? Sort of, yeah. But this is happening. And I can guarantee you guys that there's literally no way that we could potentially have any way of possibly preventing this and stopping this from happening. So we're going to have to get with it or get lost. And, when's the last time you've been to the bank? For me, it's been quite a while. I'm going to go soon because I need to replenish on cash, because we do enjoy carrying cash and offering cash to the service-based industry folks around here. But for the most part, I don't think a lot of people really need to go to the banks that much, nor do they. And a lot of people are pretty comfortable with direct deposits and mobile check deposits and digital payment processing and all these, the reasons why physical banks won't exist anymore. The reason why you don't have Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video anymore is because you can do and get all the entertainment that you want directly from your smart TV, online, available. The library is infinite. It's a natural progression. We've seen it happen before. We're seeing it happen again. So the older community, as we were reading here, some of these, the feedback and comments from seniors, is more than likely going to be of dislike and rejection and complaining, mainly because of the disconnect from being tech savvy, but also from a lifestyle of lifelong habit that is literally being taken away. And I don't know about you, but I think most people don't really like things that they're used to being taken away from them. And therefore, they're not going to be happy with them. They're not going to be pleased with them at first. But as they disappear, you're going to have to figure out how to work around it and how to use what is available. And that could mean driving further distances to get to banks, or it could mean not going to banks and learning how to use the apps, learning how to communicate with AI, learning how to trust mobile banking and digital banking. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be super simple. It's not going to be super easy, but I do think that is something that is rapidly approaching, and we need to prepare ourselves for the likelihood that the 85,000 banks that we had in 2011 that has dwindled down to 70,000 is going to continue to see that number shrink and reduce to the, not to zero, but we're going to have less banks, and we're going to have less cash, and we're going to have less in-person transactions, and we're going to have more digital mobile apps and more AI. That's real. That's in my opinion. That's what I see. That's what I hear. And granted, these bank closures potentially have various reasons behind why they're closing. But I think first and foremost, the top of the sales funnel here is about bottom line and profitability. And by reducing this cost and this overhead and streamlining this and literally going to something that I've described many, many times before of how I would never want to start a brick and mortar business that required employees in this day and age for a variety of reasons. Granted, we still need it, but me personally, I just wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to put myself out there and for that risk. And therefore, I would be looking to develop and build a business that can be entirely e-based, online, digital. And if AI could run it, then that would be the most ideal situation. I'm not trying to be cold. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real about business, especially given how we've seen the changes in business over the last 4 years. There's no way I would want to begin a business now, today or tomorrow, and purposely put myself, my staff, everybody who relies on this business in jeopardy or at risk because of the inherent dangers that exist with the old business models. I mean, we're seeing it, folks. Like, I don't remember where we were last summer. We were driving around last summer, and there were so many different places that they were new build, new construction, but they were like restaurants that you couldn't even go inside anymore. And what we're seeing is the adaptation of businesses moving towards still offering brick and mortar locations, especially when it's food based. Granted, we can get into the ghost kitchen conversation, but these are physical brick and mortar locations that have eliminated the ability for people to go inside. They're creating a new normal. They're also reducing their costs and their maintenance and their staff. And this is a stepping stone to the point of which this brick and mortar location will be 99% run by AI, like plain and simple. How do we get ready for that? Well, mentally, we have to get ready for it. This could have a huge impact on these businesses, but I also think that as the older generations phase out and the younger generations, grow into this, they're going to accept it. It's going to be their new normal. They're not going to really know any different. And it's also a younger generation that's growing up based on less human interaction by being handed iPads as infants and wanting to go through self-checkouts to avoid this human interaction and creating more of an introverted society. And I don't think that these companies, these businesses have anything to worry about from an acceptance standpoint. And I think that they know that. However, the biggest problem will be, how will these people be able to afford to conduct business with these businesses that no longer need people that they can pay to employ to earn an income to do business? That's the one that I still haven't been able to wrap my mind around just yet. We are creating so much new technology and advancements and innovation in AI and operations that don't include people. I think GM, and then, we got the other challenges with our economy. I think Scotty Kilmer just mentioned how GM is shutting down a plant and laying off all these different employees. And I do think that just like since 2011, we've seen a reduction in bank branches. I think we're going to start to see a reduction in employment. Now, the numbers, depending on who shares the numbers with you and who tells you whatever, this, that, and the other, those are debatable. Granted, there's going to be certain fields and industries that can't necessarily really be replaced by AI. For instance, somebody was joking with me the other day. They said, I'd like to see AI fix a toilet. So there's still going to be some really good, there's going to be some prime opportunities for physical employment, but the overall total is going to be reduced. And we need to be working on our plan and being prepared for our futures that involve AI, especially from the perspective of producing an income, maintaining an income, diversifying and multiplying an income. So if you want to talk about that, then hit me up, reach out. And as I mentioned earlier, I want to ask you guys a question. And that question is, on this channel, would you prefer more videos like these where we do a deep dive on what's happening in the world right now? Real stories, real news, real events that affect real people in real ways without being exaggerated or over sensationalized or hyped up or, even manipulated and lied about? Would you prefer that we tackle these subjects and have these conversations in chats on videos and live streams? Or would you prefer hanging out, traveling, vlog, lifestyle, fun content that I'll probably squeeze in some news here and there? Just kind of curious. There's no wrong answer, and I appreciate you guys no matter what, either way. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your hump day, and we'll see you later. Take care. Bye.